Welcome to another episode of Bill on Bikes. I'm Bill Miko. You're inside my facility, the Motorcycle Garage in Phoenix, Arizona, and today we're working on this 1995 Harley-Davidson FLHTC. Had a top end done to it probably about 10,000 miles ago, and the customers complaining about burning oil, smoking. We found some issues, so we're going to look at that. We're also going to take a quick look at the transmission and the main shaft. So let's get right to it. Welcome back. Customer had his top end done previously. We get the top end off and took a look at it, and there is significant wear in these cylinders, which I'm sure you're not going to be able to see, but the only way we're going to be able to take care of these is at least bore them 10 thousandths over. Another issue, it looks like they used RTV on the base gaskets. That's another reason they were just pouring oil out of the base gaskets. Don't ever use RTV. Especially if you use a metal base gaskets, paper base, you just don't want to do it. When we get closer view of the engine, you'll see how it's actually starting to clog up some of the oil return on going into the case from the cylinder from the top end. Not good. I think what they did, and it's a really poor honing job too. I mean, not much of a crosshatch at all. It appears what they did was they bought new pistons, standard size, put them in, gave a quick ball hone to the cylinders, and that was it, and sent them down the road. Front cylinder's bad also, a lot of scoring. I'm going to mic these after in a set of torque plates, and if you don't know what torque plates are, it's a heavy plate that we put here and on the bottom side, so on the top and the bottom side, torque them to spec, and it simulates the cylinder in running condition in the motor. So that's how intricate the sizing is on these, because you know, we're going to be looking at about 1.5 thousandths clearance between the piston and the cylinder wall, which is pretty tight. But modern pistons, that's what they run, and that way you don't get piston knock like in the old shovel head days. And we're going to come around and grab the camera, and we're going to try to give you a good look at what's going on over here in the motor. So let's get over here. So as you can see in here, all the silicone that's around here, it's on the studs, it's coming off inside the motor. So it's something you just don't want to do. It's not very professional. It's not good to do. Normally I would have sleeves over these studs to protect the piston. These pistons are hard enough that if you just scratch them at all, you can transfer that mark to the cylinder wall. You also never want to nick, bend, scratch any of the cylinder studs because they're hardened and you can weaken them. But in this case, all this is getting replaced, so we're not going to worry about it too much. Let me pan out here just a little bit. Now let's go over to the other side, and I want to touch upon the transmission in a primary race. So this is the race that sits on the main shaft, and you have a bearing that sits here inside the inner primary, and that's what the bearing rollers glide on. You can see it is walked, which was very common in the day. Normally we have between the end of this race and the end of the main drive gear, we have about 200 thousandths distance, so we can get our tool down in there and actually be able to pull this off. This one is walked, so what I'm going to have to do is I'll grind it here. I'll rotate the shaft 180 degrees. I'll grind it here. I'll clamp a tool on here with a puller, and hopefully be able to pull this off. It sounds easy. Sometimes it takes quite a bit of effort, but I will get it off. And what we'll do, so that'll never happen again, S&S makes this upgraded in a race. There's tapered on the inside, if you can see that, and it has a little chamfer here on the outside to mark what side faces towards you. And it can only go on so far, and it can never go all the way in to the main drive gear, so it solves that problem. I actually had that happen to me one time out in Sturgis. A brand new bike I had built for myself, riding around that day through Spearfish Canyon, and I had, you know, oil pouring out from underneath, so I had to go to Black Hills Choppers. I met some nice guys there, and they let me use the tools and fix my bike. But that wasn't a fun day, a fun way to spend my first day out in Sturgis, but it happens. So we're gonna go through getting this bike all set. It has almost 80,000 miles on it. We're gonna go through everything, full service. We're gonna freshen up the top end. We're gonna change all the transmission seals. We've already powered washed this all out. That's why it's clean. It was just soaked with oil and crud. And you know, it's an older motorcycle. Also noticed a little bit of frame rust here. It's not through, it's not too bad. I'm gonna sand this down for him and then we'll paint that. That's a common spot for rust, and you'll notice that on a lot of older police bikes. You know, they get used all the time, especially back east where they're out in the salt, the rain, and they're out in the snow. I mean, those guys ride all the time. We'll notice a lot of frame rust here where we have to go in and you know, repair that. So that's all I have for you for now. We'll do an update a little bit later, and see you next time on Bill on Bikes. Thanks for watching.